Ready? One, two.
Red Deer Public Schools acknowledges Treaty 6 territory to the north of Red Deer River. Treaty 6 territory is ancestral and traditional territory to the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux.
We also acknowledge Treaty 7 territory to the south of the Red Deer River. Treaty 7 territory is the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Sioux-Tanna First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation.
We acknowledge that the land Red Deer is located on is also traditional territory of the Métis, and we are part of Region 3 with Métis Nation of Alberta. We acknowledge and give thanks to all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
We are grateful for elders and traditional knowledge keepers who are still with us today and those who have gone before.
Recognizing and acknowledging the traditional land is an act of reconciliation and show of gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
One 100 years ago, an inspiring woman had a vision, a bright red poppy to honor veterans who lost their lives in the First World War, and to help raise support funds to help others in the aftermath.
The idea was conceived by Madame Anna Guérin of France, sparked by John McCrae's poem In Flanders Fields. Anna had originally founded a charity to help rebuild war-torn regions of France after the First World War.
Poppies made of fabric were sold to help her charity. She presented the concept to France's allies, including the Great War Veterans Association in Canada, which later became the Royal Canadian Legion. The idea was adopted, and the poppy symbol made its first appearance in Canada on July 6, 1921, the year of the first poppy campaign to support our veterans. To mark the symbol's 100th anniversary in 2021, the Royal Canadian Legion produced a replica of the original fabric pin.
The familiar image has come to reflect the sacrifices of fallen Canadian veterans from all arms of the military and from all missions, including 2 World Wars, Korea, Afghanistan, Bosnia, peacekeeping duties, and other assignments.
Canada's Parliament entrusted the Legion with the exclusive right to use the poppy as the nation's symbol of remembrance and to safeguard its image, a pledge it honors today.
100 years later, the symbol is unmistakable. Its meaning still deep.
The poppy of remembrance honors sacrifice. The poppy of remembrance cries, "Never again." The poppy of remembrance reflects solace and support.
Anna Guérin's vision lives on.
To learn more about how the Legion helps veterans, visit legion.ca.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below.
We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields.
Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high.
If ye break faith with us who die, ye shall not sleep, the poppies grow in Flanders fields.
What we do at Veterans Voices of Canada is we give honor and tribute to our past and present veterans through historical documentation, the interviews, tributes and displays like flags of remembrance, and public displays of memorabilia, things that get people asking questions about history. So I've sat with over 2,000 veterans and documented their stories since 2005. The importance of what we're doing, especially with the older veterans now, is the World War II veterans are 98, 99, 100 years old now. Such an important thing to hear the story directly from the veterans who've been there. I can tell the story, we can read the story in a book, but it's not quite the same as listening to that veteran tell their story. So many times I've sat with a veteran, I've interviewed them, and although there's an 85 or 90-year-old veteran in front of me, sitting with me to discuss their experiences, they're 17 and 18 years old again when they're telling the story. So it's amazing to see the emotion, to hear the emotion, and to have them right in front of you telling their story. That won't be here forever. So Flags of Remembrance began back in 2014, and the idea I had for Flags of Remembrance was we needed a more visual reminder of remembrance and what remembrance is. We began putting up 128 flags in representation of the 128,000 Canadian killed and missing in action from the Boer War to current missions. So from World War II, World War I, Boer War, right to Afghanistan, these flags represent each one of those souls. And on each one of these flagpoles, we have plaques of honor. What these plaques of honor are, they're the names of people who sacrificed for Canada. So in our case this year, what we do is the names of veterans, military veterans or first responders. We have those names of those people on each one of the plaques. The idea is when people see this amazing tribute of 128 flags, they come to the site, they take a walk along the flag line, and they can read the names of each of the individuals. So in that way, it's a really amazing way to remember. We begin this every fall, each September. It lasts until November 12th. And in that way, again, we're actually extending remembrance. Where you may have seen these flags along the highway on Highway 11 coming towards Sylvan Lake, we since added another flag line at Centennial Park in Sylvan Lake because it's more accessible. This year is the first year we had them in Lacombe, Alberta. We've also got 4 other sites across Canada, Phillipsburg, Quebec, Dunnville and Windsor, Ontario, and my hometown, Sydney, Nova Scotia. This is so important, especially today, because we don't have wars like we did when I was growing up. When I'm of the age, World War II was still big in history, big in learning. Nowadays, not so much. We have Afghanistan that happened more recently. We've got so many people who are out there right now signing up, putting their lives on the line for us, and we have to remember them in this way. It's so important that we have this today for those reasons.
Of 41 Red Deer students leave for France tomorrow. It's an opportunity to work on their French studies, and as Dwayne Wollheiser tells us, it's also an opportunity to learn more about the history of Red Deer.
He whom this scroll commemorates was numbered among those who at the call of king and country left all that was dear to them.
She's read his letters time and again, and over the years, Dorothy Bauer has gotten to know her uncle quite well, even though she wasn't alive yet when 22-year-old Arthur Bauer died on a French battlefield in 1916.
It is sad they had their whole lives ahead of them, which they didn't have.
It's also sad that today we don't often take time to remember those who gave their lives for our country.
Perhaps we take it too much for granted now.
Arthur Bauer, just one of 13 names on a plaque hundreds of students pass by every day and probably don't notice. But for the students who go on this trip, Arthur's name and the name of the 12 others on that plaque will mean a lot more. Friday, Jennifer Corrales and 40 other Red Deer students and teachers are headed to France for more than a French lesson. The group will visit the graves of several former Red Deer students.
By appreciating what they've done for us, we can appreciate our own lives and what we have today. The luck we have in not having to think about the war. We can kind of go out and think about college and things like that.
They realized that these boys were young men much like themselves.
To the niece of Arthur Bauer, the visit is a little gift she's very thankful for.
Let those who come after see to it that his name is not forgotten. Sapper William Arthur Bauer, Canadian Engineers.
In Red Deer, Dwayne Wollheiser, News Crew.
I'm very excited to tell you today about an amazing opportunity that's going to become available for students in the city of Red Deer. And this is a scholarship that has been offered by Ruth and Dorothy Bauer, who are offering this $1 million scholarship bursary fund in memory of their uncle, William Arthur Bauer, who was killed during World War I at the age of 22. This is an amazing opportunity for students of Red Deer. The scholarship is going to be offered to a minimum of 5 students every year for a minimum of $5,000. And this scholarship can be renewable for up to 4 years. So that means that it is possible to receive a minimum of $20,000 over a 4-year period. The scholarship in memory of William Arthur Bauer is open to students who are going on to university, colleges, other post-secondary institutes. So the possibilities are wide open. The Bauer sisters, Dorothy and Ruth, thought it was important to give this opportunity to Red Deer students. They both are in their 90s and were lucky enough to attend university, but they saw many students who had the ability that just did not have the financial ability to go back in the 1940s and 50s. Therefore, they wanted to leave a legacy for students here in Red Deer. So this $1 million gift is going to be something that our students from Red Deer Public Schools, Red Deer Catholic Schools will be able to participate in. The gift has been given to the Red Deer and District Community Foundation, who will administrate this scholarship program, but students at their high schools can apply for this through their guidance counselor or their career department. And applications will be available soon in the new year. So we look forward to awarding this very generous scholarship offered by Ruth and Dorothy Bauer.